you here. Thank you for joining. Good evening, everyone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good evening,
Good evening.
Mr. Bello. Are you in a comfortable place? Can you hear me
Yes,
clearly?
I can hear you clearly. I can hear
Oh,
you
okay,
clearly.
awesome. That's awesome. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We are not going to be wasting any time. We already have a good number of people here with us, so we are going to be kickstarting. And today we'll just be discussing about how you can land a professional role here in the UK as a dependent, specifically because it's a general knowledge. I think we all know that it can be difficult to progress your career if you've just migrated to the United Kingdom under the tier 2 or tier 4 visa as a dependent, and sometimes people have to settle for jobs like care work and all those things before they are able to progress, and so people get stuck along the line. But Mr. Bello here is a living witness and is somebody that has done it. He has successfully transitioned from Nigeria to the United Kingdom and has been able to maintain his profession through the years and is doing excellently well. He has gotten promoted in the last year that he arrived in the UK. So yeah, he's going to be giving us all the knowledge that we need and everything we need to know. So yeah, let's kick off. Tell us a little about yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aji Folawe Bello. I'm a graduate of computer science from the University of Ilorin, Nigeria. I currently work at Barclays UK as a controls business partner, where I manage the risk that are associated with Barclays payments products. And previously in Nigeria, I used to work as a fraud investigator. I was a regional fraud investigator for United Bank for Africa West. And after arriving in the UK, I got a job with Barclays, fortunately as a fraud analyst. And to the glory of God, within the space of 3 years, well, less than 2 years now that I've joined Barclays, less than 3 years, I've gotten promoted twice. And that's because of my experience back in Nigeria.
We
I
will still go into the
that's a brief
details. We'll go into
yeah that's just a brief introduction. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to mention that if you have any questions while we are discussing, instead of typing on the comments, I might lose it. There's a question box right underneath the video where you can easily drop your question so that we can address it at the end of everything. So please use the question box and we'll use that to just address your questions. All right, so let's proceed. Thank you so much, Mr. Below. So you all have had it. It was with United Bank for Africa, West African region, and he successfully migrated to being a staff of the Barclays Bank. And if you don't know, Barclays Bank is an international bank who does not only operate in the United Kingdom, but they also operate in United States as well and other parts of the world. So it is an international banking, what we like call it now, banking company. Yeah, that's what it is. It is international. So tell us how you were able to land that role coming into the UK. What did you do? Were you so interested in proceeding or progressing as a bank professional, as a finance professional that made you apply into Barclays? What did you do? What was the unique thing you had to do differently that made you land this role?
So um, as immigrants, there's one thing I believe we actually all need, which is a kind of mindset reorientation. And professional work is relative to everyone, and everyone relocating already has a mindset about, oh, this is how things work abroad, or probably things they've heard from people. I have my own share too. I mean, when I was coming to the UK, some people actually told me that I cannot get a bank job in that sense. But I I keyed into the fact that I know that it is possible. And I'm sorry, I'm not a pastor, but then I might give some biblical illustrations. Um, even the Bible says something about if we don't believe we can achieve something, we cannot achieve it.
Azima
When it's when
proposed
the
is that.
Yeah,
Azima thinking
exactly,
is that. So is
when
it,
the
yeah.
when the people on earth, when in I think Genesis 11 or so, were trying to build a tower to reach God, got to a point. God says, because they have achieved, they have thought it in their heart, they have imagined it in their hearts, yes, they would definitely achieve it. So the first thing is believing in yourself that you can actually get to do this, that you can achieve this. So the first thing I did was, even before I left Nigeria, I started applying for jobs on LinkedIn. The only thing I knew then was LinkedIn, and I turned in applications. I didn't give up, and to the glory of God, I got my Barclays. Barclays was the first job I got in the UK. I got
Was
to
that the first
UK.
job you applied for?
No, it was not the first job I applied for, but it
I
was the
mean, the
first job I
banking
got.
job, the first banking
No,
job you applied for, was
it
it
was not.
Barclays?
It
Oh,
wasn't. Yeah,
okay.
I got a lot of unfortunately's. Like everybody know of unfortunately.
As usual.
Unfortunately, we are afraid.
Normal thing.
So I got a lot of unfortunately, and so the first thing, like I said, is setting your heart to it. If you set your heart to it, you will definitely achieve it. Then secondly, revamping your resume. A lot of us, even back in Nigeria, the resume that you use to apply for company A might definitely not be accepted by company B. I remember there was a time in Nigeria, I had a friend that was working with Forte Hoyer. Now he now works with Geregu now, and I told him I wanted to leave UBA. I was seeking another employment, and he said, "Send your CV and all that." And I sent my CV, and within 2 or 3 hours, he replied me back, "Baba, go and go, go and do a right CV." But fortunately, but funny thing is, that was the CV I used to get my banking job in Nigeria. But it was not acceptable for the kind of job he wanted to get from me at 40. So knowing, I'm sorry, with no disrespect to the bank I was working with Nigeria, knowing where you are applying to and what is obtainable there is also very important. Last week, a friend sent a CV to me, and a former colleague sent a CV to me to help and refer for a job at Barclays. And honestly, I'm not an HR person, but going through that CV, I know this is not getting anywhere. And so a lot of us come with that same old CV that we have probably done since we were undergraduate students, and then use it to apply for high profile jobs, and then expect that we get results. Unfortunately, we'll keep getting unfortunately. We'll keep getting unfortunately. So we talk to professionals and write up a detailed CV. And another thing about CV, I was talking to my wife last week. I told her to apply for a job, and she said, she doesn't have experience in this line. After reading the job specifications, and I read these job specifications, and I said, do you actually know you have actually done these things? But because of the way some requirements are worded, we believe that, oh, this is not what I can do. So what was she applying for? She was supposed to apply for an KYC and investigative application fraud position, kind of. And she was like, no, she doesn't have an experience in investigating application fraud or doing KYC reviews and all that. And I asked her, okay, where were you working back in Nigeria? You were working as a customer service officer in a bank, but and your bank processes loan application, and what you do is to review the identity of these people to be sure that it is the owner of the identity that is actually applying for these loans. So you have carried out an application fraud investigation. Put it on your CV. So there are a lot of things that we have actually done. That the problem is the wording that we don't know how to, probably because the terminology we use in Nigeria is quite different from the terminology we use in UK, and then we feel like, oh no, this is not the experience I have. So research things. Try to know the difference between terminologies used in Nigeria and the terminologies used wherever you are, probably in UK, US, Canada. They might mean the same thing, but the wording might actually be different. That's it. Then another third thing is a lot of people have we've made up our minds that once I get to UK, I'll be on my lane. I I've already learned that
It
black people
doesn't work.
black people are bad people. They don't help when they get to UK. So I want to be on my lane. So you don't want to be part of the community. You don't want to associate with people that probably you have known from Nigeria, or people from your country, or people from your continent. So you just want to be on your lane. And the only way Asians are leading in this country is because they have a
Community.
community. It's because
Yeah.
they have created a niche for themselves, and immediately this person hears about this, they try to bring everybody in. If you don't mix up with people, or you mix up with the right set of people, you are probably not going to get anywhere. I remember my very first week in UK, and I was talking to somebody about getting a job, and I spoke with the person about how do I get a job and all that. The person told me that the only thing I can do is care job and all that. With no disrespect to people doing care job, it's a professional job on their own. But I know that was not what I wanted for myself, and I not the fact of dissociating yourself from people, but I just know that particular advice was not for me. Yes, I did care job when I just got to UK. Yes, I did it, but I kind of put my mind to it that it was not something I was going to do for long, and I started churning out applications, and I got, unfortunately, after I did interviews, but then I discovered that I got better as the time went by. I remember my very first interview. I still remember that very first interview, because I believe without that first interview, I probably wouldn't have gotten my Barclays job, because I made two very silly mistakes in that interview that I was able to correct in my Barclays interview, and I was able to get it. So with these three things, I definitely believe that if we can do these three things and be diligent about it, and a lot of people tend to give up easily. Once we get about 10, unfortunately, 15, unfortunately,
10
we
is a
realize,
lot.
no.
Come on,
Yeah.
Baron.
From Barclays alone, I have over 25 unfortunately. That's from Barclays alone.
Before you eventually
No,
got the job.
the job I first got from Barclays was actually the first job I applied from Barclays. But after I was applying for promotions, I got over 25 unfortunately. Yeah.
Wow, before you got promoted.
Yeah. And I know somebody very close to me that got over 100 unfortunately from Barclays. And today she's working there. So don't be discouraged. The fact that you got unfortunately several times from corporate jobs does not mean, maybe corporate job is not my thing. No, it's not. You get better at things, and at the long run, I'm very sure you share your story.
So let me ask a direct question. For the first for the Barclays job, the very first one you got, because if you're just joining, Mr. Bello is working with Barclays, and he's not just working with Barclays, he's been promoted twice in the space of 2 years, or less than 2 years that he has joined Barclays. Yeah. So the first time you joined Barclays and you got a job to work with Barclays, where did you apply? Like, what did you use? LinkedIn? Did you use
Yeah,
Indeed?
I got my first job on Barclays from LinkedIn.
From LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah.
Wow. So LinkedIn is that powerful.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I was reading something on was it Twitter during the week, and the person, I think apparently the person just got to UK, and the person was asking the question, do you people actually get jobs on LinkedIn, or I should just mind my business? And people actually get jobs on LinkedIn. Yeah. And it's not just LinkedIn. There's LinkedIn, there's Reed, there's Adzuna. There are a lot of job application sites there where you can drop your CV and make your profile top notch by speaking to professionals. There are HR professionals that are in this line that know what these recruiters are looking for and the keywords that are to be on your resume. for you to get the particular job you are looking for. And another thing I think might be happening to a lot of us is that we want to start big. I mean, a lot of people will be like, I was a senior person back in Nigeria. Why should I start from an entry level when I get to UK? Now, apart from IT people and some other professions that can actually start up big, some of us that are in fraud, accounting,
In
risk management,
healthcare.
risk management, actually have to start from somewhere, eh? Before we then begin to, grow. And in all honesty, your experience back in Africa begins to count only when you start from somewhere here for some types of profession that I just mentioned. Like, I started from an entry level from Barclays, but I thank God for where I am today. But if I didn't start
Yeah,
from
you tell us where
that,
you are. So God, that's why we got you.
but if I didn't start from where I started from, I probably, so we need to start, start small.
Don't be
Not
afraid to
every,
start
but
small.
don't be afraid. Exactly, that's the word. Don't be afraid. Not everybody will start small, but if your own case is starting small, don't be afraid to start small.
Just
Everything doesn't
when you start
always
small,
have to
don't
be big.
settle for being small.
Exactly. Don't settle for being small. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a question. Someone said, "Do you have to edit your resume to suit each job application you made?" So let's say that
Uh,
after you got the entry level job with Barclays, when you are applying for the promotion, do you have to edit your CV again
yes,
to
I did.
suit that
Yeah.
promotion?
Yes, I did. And I will say that um, different job applications uh, come with comes with different things the hiring manager is looking for. Now, in all honesty, there are some jobs you see on LinkedIn, and the requirements were written by recruiters, but recruiter is not the hiring manager.
Hmm. Okay.
You need exactly
That
the
makes sense.
recruiter. Yeah, the
Yeah.
recruiter is not the hiring manager. It's the hiring manager that wants to interview, that wants to know, that knows what exactly he's looking for. There are some recruiters that will just generate some generic requirements and just put there. Quite all right, I understand. But then, I would say for every job you are applying for, go through the requirements, know what they require, and go through your CV at the same time. Eh? Does my CV actually fit? Even though I know I can perform this function, but what I have put on my resume, does it fit what this hiring manager or what this company is looking for? I I, I applied for a job early this year, and immediately after submitting the job application, I told somebody that was seated beside me. I said I'm never going to get this job. Why? I made a very, very silly and gross mistake on the resume I used to apply. And I tried as much as possible to see if I could bring down the resume, but and it was a very good job. It's a job that I really, really would love to have that. Do you understand
A
what I
dream
mean?
job.
Exactly, it's a dream job with a dream company. But unfortunately, because of the silly mistake I made on my CV, it was one or two silly mistakes. I told the person beside me, I told her, I said, "Hi guy, I made a silly mistake. I doubt if I was even going to be called for an interview." And unfortunately, truly, I was not called for an interview. But then subsequently, I know that I should pay
You
attention
can
to
do better
details.
next time.
Exactly, exactly.
So let me ask you, talking about keywords when you are updating your resume or when you are writing your CV to tailor to suit the job, tailoring your CV to suit the job. How do you look out for keywords in application? What part of the application or what part of the job advertisement should you be looking at to know what to focus on when you are creating your resume to actually fit into that job application you are making?
So on a lot of job applications, you see the recruiter or the hiring manager, whoever posted the advertisements, put something like the, the role responsibilities. Then some of them write who we are looking for. a lot of time we focus on the role responsibilities. Okay, this is what this person will be doing, but at the same time, you don't check the type of experience they require the person to have. Like what you will be doing, quite all right, is a thing, but the experience they want this person to bring is another thing. So it now comes to the fact of how to interpret the experience that they require and how to put it on your CV. For instance, now, if I'm trying I'm trying to think of a perfect example based on my own
Experience.
career path. Okay, so recently now, I when I was applying for my new role, which happens to be a risk management role. Yes, quite all right. I was a fraud investigator back in Nigeria, and at the same time, well, the first job I got was a fraud analyst. But although the bulk of my job back in Nigeria and also what I got in UK had to do with fraud analysis and fraud investigations, not much of risk management and all that, but it involved a little bit of risk management, and my own resume was fraud focused. But I read the job requirements. I noticed that, okay, they needed somebody that knew about payment products and all that. I never had any of those responsibilities on my CV. But the truth of the matter is that I investigated fraud that had to do with banking products. So I had to import those ones and put it on my CV and know how to defend it in my interview. So another thing I noticed, I was discussing with a friend sometimes last week, and he was saying, Africans are disgracing us and all that. And it was like, there's this guy from so country that they just recruited in his company, and he wonders how he actually got the job. A lot of people put things on their CV that they cannot do and they would never learn how to do. It's another thing to put something on your CV and do it and be able to do it. It's another thing to put something on your CV and don't even have an idea about it. So that's it.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about interviews. So we are going to start from the entry level interviews and just discuss around what was your experience like during the interview, because I know that, for example, I work in healthcare, so I know what our interview is like. I know that for some companies you have to do like stages of interviews before you eventually get picked for the job and all of that. So tell us what your interview experience was like and what you actually encountered, just to give people a closure on what to expect when they, go for interviews with, professional, go for interviews towards professional roles in big companies like yours.
So for a lot of companies in the UK that I've interviewed with, I noticed that most of them follow the STAR methodology.
STAR methodology.
Yeah, in conducting their interviews, and some of them will actually tell you that this is a competency based interview, and we use the STAR methodology. And I've been privileged to listen to some people's interview, and for the place where I work, for most of our roles we do 2-stage interviews, but I've interviewed with companies that did 3 stages interview. Yeah, even in the UK, I've interviewed with companies that did 3 stages interview. So number one thing in going for any interview is know very well what you have put on your CV. Like the questions can come from anywhere on your resume. They can just pick one of your responsibilities or one of the things you have said you have achieved. Okay, tell us about how you went about this thing. So you need to be able to paint the situation that was at hand. Okay, this was what was on ground in my company, and this was what I had to do, and this was how I achieved my results, and this was the end results. This was how it helped whatever it was. So for every situational question, we should be what I noticed that we should be able to give facts about what it was before and after you carried out what you did, what was the increment, what was the improvements. Don't just say, okay, when I was working with so and so, I was the one that did this, I was the one that did this, I improved this, I improved it. How did you improve it? What was the output before you put in your own efforts? And what was the output after you put in your efforts? Let them be able to judge by the output. Oh, truly, what you did actually worked. That's just an idea of what STAR methodology is. And if you can actually put everything, if every responsibility you said you carried out, every achievement you said you carried out on your CV, if you can actually put it into STAR methodology, there's actually no interview I don't believe you would not scale through.
True. That makes sense. So now let's move on to from getting your entry role to getting promoted, then getting promoted again. Do you have to do anything differently, like additional certification or extra courses, or like take on like short what's it called now, learnings online, or were you trained by your institution, by your company for those roles?
So the truth of the matter is, I've been in UK two years now, and the only certification that I've gotten is, there are people that have gotten certification and all that. The only additional certification that I've gotten since I got to UK is my professional Scrum Master, and unfortunately, it has little or nothing to do with my promotion and the new role that I got in my place of work. I understand perfectly well that there are a lot of people that had to do certifications and all that before they get promoted. But there is something I noticed about these people. It might not always be true, but in my own case and the case of a lot of people, they value experience more than certificates. I know people that are my bosses at work that don't even have a BSc. That's the truth. I'm telling you, that's the truth. But in all honesty, when you listen to these people, you wonder why they don't have BSc, because you know that they are knowledgeable at what they do. They know their onions. They know what they do very well. So a lot of times these people actually value knowledge and experience more than, yes, certificate might be an additional, but know what you have to do first. Then let these certificates then be like an addition to it. But if you don't have the knowledge and you just bank on your BSc, MSc, but then you can't even defend your BSc and MSc at your interviews, is of no use, in all honesty.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much. Now, moving on swiftly. Guys, if you have any question, please drop it in the question box. Use the question box and just type in your questions so that we don't miss out on any concerns that you might have. Now, let's move on to talking about, if I am not in the banking sector or if I am not in the finance sector, but I have interest in joining, or I want to do something around that area. How do you advise, or how do you think I can best penetrate the sector? If the question makes sense.
Yeah,
So
it
let's
does
say
make
I want to
sense.
work in Barclays Bank.
Yeah,
I've come to
it does.
UK. I've been doing support work, or I've been doing care work, or I've been a domiciliary care worker, or I've been working in the warehouse, and I'm tired. I want to do something more professional. I want to build my career, but I don't want to go back to school. I want to, start a job. And what's the entry point to getting that done?
So I think this comes to life very well because I did an experiment last year. not like I experimented with someone. A friend of mine introduced someone to me, and the truth is, this lady has never worked in a corporate setting. She was working in the healthcare sector, and she wanted to join Barclays. And it was like, what do we
Let's
do?
say I want to
And I was like,
join Barclays, for example. Now, what
oh,
do I do?
you are a big woman. Barclays money is too small for you.
That's That's a joke. Oh, in case my destiny helper is there, that's a joke.
Barclays money is too small
That's
for
a
you.
joke.
So, okay, so three of us got together and were able to come up with a resume. And in all honesty, we actually put things that she did, even in the healthcare sector. And then I referred her to Barclays. That's what I said about is another thing to be able to is another thing to do something. Is another thing to be able to do something. She put on her CV quite alright that she was coming from the healthcare sector. And there was no question that they asked her. Funny thing is that they asked her almost the same question they asked me when I was doing my entry level. But the way we will answer is different. And I just told her, don't try to impress. Answer the question the best way you know how to. We went through my friend was my friend is very good in preparing people for interview, and he prepared her for the interview. And we told her that okay, just be yourself. If they ask you question, if you can link it to your healthcare sector, please link it. And she got a job that somebody that had 5 years banking experience did not get. In all honesty,
Really?
yes, she was able to explain the questions she was asked relating to the experience she had in healthcare sector. And in all honesty, she's my colleague today.
So skills are transferable. You must just know how
That's
to
that's the word.
explain
Exactly.
that
Skills are transferable. She used an healthcare CV to get a job
in the finance
in the
sector.
finance
That's
sector.
that's intelligent. Mm.
And another thing is, I remember when a friend of mine just got to this country, and where he was looking for jobs and all that, and he was like, he has never worked in the financial industry before, let alone fraud. He's like, we will try. There's something about me. I don't believe anything is impossible. We will try. Don't worry. Don't think that because you have not worked as it. Although on the job posting they wrote vividly that they wanted somebody with fraud experience. You don't have fraud experience, but you have business management experience. In that business management experience, there is a way you have dealt with fraud in one way or the other, and you can bring it to light. And in all honesty, that was the first interview in the UK, and he got the job. So just like you said, skills are transferable, and there is even in the healthcare in the healthcare sector. I believe if I ask you questions about fraud, there's a way you can relate it to your experience, and you'll be able to bring it to limelight, and they know that this person knows what he or she is saying. There's a way I will ask you question about risk management in health, and you'll be able to relate it to healthcare and explain that okay, I have skills that I'm bringing from my healthcare sector that are transferable to the financial industry or to the IT industry, as the case may be.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. Now, if you have questions, drop it in the question box because this live is coming to an end very, very soon. We have less than 30 minutes to go. So now the next question I want to ask you is at what point after you got the entry level role did you realize that you could actually push for a promotion? And after your promotion, at what point do you realize that I can push further for another promotion? All
Okay. So
within, all within
um
1 year.
so there's this thing about being concerned about other people. Honestly, we don't know what being concerned about other people could do for us. So the first time I actually realized that I could push for a promotion, it was a friend of mine that introduced me to an high-paying job in the UK, and told me that we can transition into IT fully and all that. But then I was not serious. But he happened to be very serious, and he landed the job. I can remember when we both first got to the UK, and he was looking for an accommodation, and he needed a guarantor. And we saw the salary of the person that wanted to serve as a guarantor for him. We're like, in this UK? But lo and behold, when he transitioned his in career, today I can tell you he's earning more than that person. Like,
Please, how much?
I'm not going to tell you. Honestly, he's earning far more than that
Give
person.
us the range now so that we'll be
Okay, so
aspiring higher.
let me tell you this. So when he wanted to get our accommodation, the person as at that time was earning 50,000.
Okay.
And we're like, then my salary, well, okay, I said Barclays was the first job I got, but then Barclays was not the first job I resumed. My first salary in UK was about 18,000, and he was also earning about the same amount. And so we're like, people are earning 50K in this same country. But today he's earning more than that. And so when he got that, I felt like, so this thing is possible. You understand?
Yeah.
So that was the first idea I had about, oh, I can do this thing. So the second idea I had about the fact that I can actually get a more senior role and an IRP was when the friend I told you about that never done anything in the financial industry, then got a job that I was on the same level. It was not a beef. It was not an end, but definitely I was the one that encouraged that you can get it.
It
But
was
it
the
made me feel like,
motivation.
yeah,
Yeah.
it made me feel like if somebody without a financial industry background can actually get this thing, then I can get hired.
Yeah, that's a good motivation. That's
Then
true.
I can get hired. So I started applying. And okay, so the first promotion actually came as a promotion. I didn't apply for it.
Okay.
I joined Barclays April 2022. I got my first promotion December 2022. And I resumed the first promotion in January 2023. And as at February 2023, I felt like, no, you can't do this thing. So I started pushing. And I think I had about 5 interviews. Out of After those 5 interviews, I got 2. Yes. So I believe the first 3 interviews that I did for promotion actually prepared me for the 2 I got, because I know that for subsequent interviews I got better. And I remember the day I was called for the first one that I got this role, and they told me the pay. I was like, what? You understand what I'm saying? So I improvements and preparing yourself. The fact that I remember when I did the very first interview, I was very, very sure I was going to get the job, but I was disappointed. And at some point, I remember telling my friend that I'm not doing it again. Like, I was so very sure I did well in this, but then they pushed me. They said, "Don't worry, do this, do that. Let us go through these questions together." That's why I said about having a community. Let us do these things together, and we did it together. And lo and behold, two fell through, and I was able to pick one out of 2.
Wow. So
All
there's
within the
actually a
space
lot.
of, I said I resumed the first promotion in January, and I resumed the second one in May. That was 4 months after.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like, I don't know if you guys have been listening and following, but I've picked a lot from this live session, a whole lot. So the only person that is stopping you
The
is you. You are the only one
Yeah,
stopping
exactly.
yourself.
The only person that is stopping you is
Yeah, I
you.
don't know stopping yourself, because if it's possible for you to land 2 promotions within the space of a year as an immigrant here in this country with an international organization, anything is possible when it comes to your profession and your career. And the fact that people that do not even have financial industry background are getting jobs within the financial industry tells you that a lot. So if you're sleeping on LinkedIn, don't sleep on LinkedIn.
Don't sleep on
Wake up.
LinkedIn. Set up alerts, and
Set up
there,
job alerts. Wake up. Connect with people. Enter people's DM and ask them
there
how
was
are
a,
they.
there was at a time in myself and a friend's life that every day we make sure we apply for at least 10 jobs. In all honesty, we make sure at least we're on Reed, on LinkedIn, on Adzuna. Like, we make sure all rounder at least 10 jobs, and all those interviews are actually preparing us for what we would later get. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine, my friend I'm talking about, got a job that he never applied for. People share that testimony, and a lot of times, sometimes as Christians, we doubt some testimony, but he got a job he never even applied for. Why? Probably the recruiter found his CV
Somewhere.
somewhere, and reached out to him personally.
within this UK, and the person is an
Yeah.
immigrant. So not there is no impossibility. Like you said earlier, there is nothing that is impossible. It is all dependent on your mindset. So ask yourself, what do I want?
What do I
How
want?
far do I want to go?
Anything you set your heart to, it might take time, but definitely, honestly, you would achieve. You
Yeah,
would achieve
yeah,
if you are determined and diligent about it, and don't give up too easily. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And when you eventually get it, don't just sleep on it. Keep at it and keep climbing the ladder. Ask yourself, how far do I want to go? Climb the ladder until the point that you know that yes, I am where I want to be now, and you feel happy. Wow, like this is very, very eye-opening for me as a person. I've learned one or two things because if I want to come to Barclays now, I know what to do.
Our money is small for you.
It's all about
Stay
us
where
in Canada. You
stay
have
where you
viewers
are.
there. Hey, we'll do something for Canada people. What do we want to do for Canada people? I'll look into it. I'll look into what we can do. But honestly, what we have discussed this evening, you can also apply it if you're in Canada. We are not just talking because this is UK. Because we are talking based on our status as immigrants, what we can achieve, what we can attain as immigrants. So I'm sure that everything Mr. Bello has talked about this evening, you can apply those tactics as well in Canada and see what you can do. Because I know a lot of people, I have friends and family over there, and they are getting good jobs. But I will definitely do my background assignments and find a way to bring a Canadian professional as well to come have a word with us. Thank you so much for joining the live this evening. Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Bello. Let me see if any question has come in so that I don't want to offend anybody. Okay. This person is asking, as a nurse coming to UK as a this is not about nursing. This is about landing a professional role as a
It's
dependent.
not professional.
No. The person is asking, what can I do to start work as a registered nurse in the UK? That's not what this live session is about. So that one, send
Let
me a
them speak to
DM.
the immigrants now.
Send me a DM and I'll talk to you. This person is asking, is it possible the guest speaker assist with how we can go about our resume? Okay, Mr. Bello, so just give us a quick rundown of how people can tailor their resume to their jobs, what is expected, what they should see on the resume, and you can send him a message on LinkedIn as well. Adekpeju Jalad. You can send Mr. Bello a message on LinkedIn. His name is Ajifolawe Bello. Send him a message on LinkedIn for further questions, but he's going to give us a quick rundown on what your CV should look like if, for example, you're applying for a role in Barclays. What is expected of you? So let's quickly talk about that.
We mentioned this earlier. Different jobs with different requirements. For instance, now there are, even me personally, well, all my CVs have the same job role, but there are some specific keywords that each recruiter is looking for. So I would say it depends on the job you are actually applying for. Number one, but everybody should have at least a standard CV. So I was talking about somebody that sent a resume to me sometimes last week, and I went through it and I knew that this CV is going nowhere, and I had to return it, just like a friend of mine did to me back in Nigeria. Your CV should be able. There's a way people are writing CVs now that it is not even showing responsibilities anymore. Your CV should be able to show your key achievements at every role you have taken. If as a recruiter, I can't see if as a recruiter, if I see that you spent 5 years in a company and on your CV, I can't see a major achievement in that company in 5 years. Tell me why I should even invite you for an interview in the first place. If I can't hold on to a major achievement on your resume, I probably wouldn't even give you an audience to hear you out. But I need to see something very catching on your resume to be able to even invite you for an interview, to hear you out, to now see if you can actually defend that thing that is on your resume. So your CV, your resume should capture your major achievements. I think that is very, very
So you
important.
should be a
Yeah.
solution provider. In
Exactly.
another words,
Exactly.
what solution have you what problem have you solved? Put it on your CV. And it does not have to be something mysterious or something big. It could be something as small as, oh, you were able to come up with an idea that your company was able to run by and it led them to this point, or you were able to share with your manager. Or it could be quality improvement, it could be conflict resolution, it could be, sorry, I'm already talking about healthcare. But it could be things that you have been able to do. It could be things that you've suggested and somebody has picked up on it and you've worked on it. What do you think, Mr. Bello? Give us an example. Like,
Yes, you're right.
yeah, yeah,
I, I,
yeah.
I,
So
I know somebody that got a good job just because of Excel. As simple as we think Excel is, a lot of companies are using advanced Excel. And what did he put on his CV? He put that his major achievements, he was able to come up with a template for reporting something, which the company still adopt till date.
mm,
And
can you imagine that?
and
That seems very simple.
it seems very simple, but actually, at the interview, the interviewer actually told him that it was that thing that they saw on his on his resume that made them invite him for the interview.
Wow.
And there was also one other person that he was a friend of mine, and she's a friend of mine, and I referred her to my place of work, and she put on it that she could do pivot table and all that. And the interviewer told her that it was particularly because of that pivot table that he saw on her resume that made him invite her for the interview. So you could never tell. Anything you can do, put it there, but just make sure it is actually what you
You
can do.
can
And
do.
guess what? They told her to share her screen, create a pivot table. Let's see. Honestly,
Gege. Don't lie on your CV or ever parrot on your CV. So when you're creating your CV, don't tell a lie. Make sure it's things you can do, even if you cannot do them at the time you're applying. Between the time of application and the time of interview, learn it and prepare yourself so that when they ask you during the interview, you have something to tender, which makes a lot of sense. So it does not have to be something big. Just sit down, think about it, and
show how you have added value, and then
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
and how you can then add value. Because
yeah.
if you cannot show me how you have added value in your 5 years of, then what value are you bringing to me? Everybody wants somebody that can add value, that can bring
As
value.
much as we
What
don't like
what
it, but what are you
ex,
bringing to the table?
exactly what everybody wants is value. What they are paying you for is value. What you are asking them to pay you for is value. So what value
That
can
you
you
are
can you
doing.
add? Yeah.
Yeah, let's end there for tonight. Hold on to that one. If you're not holding on to anything else, hold on to that and if you I think one thing I remember that I was going to mention when you were talking, Mr. Bello, is that if you're coming to the UK as an immigrant and you have plans to, penetrate into the professional sector and you want to get to that point like Anna Awonuga. Mr. Bello, you know Anna Awonuga now. You want to be like Anna Awonuga, you want your name to be heard everywhere. I think one thing that you need to do is you must be ready to unlearn and relearn. Like Mr.
Yeah.
Mendo has said, yeah, like we can say that he has learned a lot of new things just by joining the professional sector in the UK. And I think that is one thing that is very, very crucial. You must be ready to unlearn a lot of things. You must be ready to take up new learnings. You should not just hold on to the things that you already know to do back in your own country. But when you're coming here, you need to find out what is applicable. Even if you have the skills, how can you transfer it in a way that it will be applicable, acceptable, and useful to
In
the
your new
system
client,
of
yeah.
things, yes, in this country, which I think is something that is very, very crucial that everybody should sit back and think and use as their source of strength to getting things done. Thank you so much. Like, this has been very, very insightful. Honestly speaking, I've had a lot to learn, and I'm sure that everybody that is watching this live session has also added value one way or the other, and they know what to take home. I'll be saving the replay. So if you are just joining us, sorry you came late. We've been on this on this for almost an hour. So if you are just joining us, there will be a replay here on Instagram, and there will be a replay as well on my YouTube channel, The Immigrant Nurse. So you can check YouTube or Instagram for the replay so that you can catch up on whatever it is you have missed. Thank you so much, Mr. Bello. Even though we cannot see you clearly, eh?
I'm sorry.
But we pardon you because you've given us more than your face. So that's okay. We'll take it like that. Thank you so much for for doing this. Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring our invitation. We are very, very grateful and we look forward to more. When you become director, we'll bring you back so that you can come and tell us how you did it again. All right,
Thank you so
we'll
much for
release you.
having me. Thank you very much.
We'll release you now and leave you to go. So catch the replay. Those of you that are just joining, catch the replay. We are done. Catch the replay, okay? Thank you so much for joining, guys. I'm very grateful. I'll see you in the next month live session. It's going to be mind-blowing and powerful, I promise. I'll see you in the next month live session. Until then, stay safe and stay blessed. Bye. Bye, everyone.